After my 2-hour tirade of non-stop swearing went viral, a rich lady approached me and said, 10 million a month, marry my son. I was about to curse her out as a scammer when she wiped her tears and said, he's gentle and frail. Ever since his accident, people have been bullying him. That sharp tongue of yours is just what he needs for protection. At the banquet, I saw the handsome man in a wheelchair quietly enduring ridicule without a word. I felt a surge of sympathy and agreed on the spot. That is, until one day, I caught my frail husband sitting at the head of a long table, cold and imposing, as a group of bankrupt businessmen knelt before him, begging for mercy. Wait a minute, my dear mother-in-law. Are you sure your son's helpless and weak? Tony, I heard you just got married. A man sneered. We've known each other for years. Didn't know what to get you. He grinned maliciously and gave me a lecherous once-over. If you can't perform, your brothers can take over for the wedding night. I smiled back. What? You want to hide under the bed and listen in? There's a dog cage in the corner that'd suit you just fine. I gave him a scornful glance. But honestly, we wouldn't bother keeping someone like you around. They say barking dogs don't bite, but you're yapping so much. I bet you're all bark and no bite, a total waste of fur and teeth. The man turned beet red. You. I cut him off. Ladies and gentlemen, the bathroom is temporarily out of service. My voice wasn't loud, but a few people turned to look. I turned back to him and scoffed. Because this guy's mouth is already acting as a toilet, how else could it stink so bad? The man stomped in fury. You're disgusting. I shrugged. That was the polite version. Want the unfiltered one? After running him off, Tony looked up at me from his wheelchair and softly said, thank you. Seeing his gentle, bullied look made my heart ache. I reassured him, don't worry, I'm your personal bodyguard now. Tony chuckled gently. Then I'm counting on you, wifey. That one word, wifey, made my cheeks flush bright red. Honestly, marrying Tony was ridiculous. It all started during a regular summer break when I went home to do my laundry. I had just gotten home and hadn't checked the village chief's messages. Right when my washing machine was about to finish, the power went out. Left with a tub full of soapy clothes, I dragged the load out and started rinsing in the yard. That's when I heard a stranger's voice. Kids in this village will never escape it their whole lives, he was saying. And the girls can't even read a word. All they're good for is marrying young, having babies, and serving their in-laws. Like this girl, skinny and weak, already doing laundry for her husband's whole family. We live stream to show them a world they've never seen and bring warmth into their lives. Never leave the village? Can't read? Washing clothes for in-laws? I was full of question marks, mentally slapping on a meme that said, you talking about me? The guy held up his phone, live streaming as he spoke, with a guy beside him carrying a light panel, nodding along. It was like those fake documentaries where they make everything up after snapping one photo. The more he talked, the more ridiculous it got. He even started collecting donations in my name. I couldn't take it anymore. Grabbing a laundry stick, I charged at him. You son of a bitch! One loud shout and the streamer froze. The whole live stream froze. What followed was a full-on cussing spectacle, live and uncensored. 2 straight hours of unique profanity never repeated a single insult. At the end, I dragged the shattered streamer and his assistant over to show them my diploma and degree. Honestly, I wasn't even done yet, but the live stream got shut down for excessive swearing. Honestly, good riddance. Those clout-chasing, exploitative streams deserve to be banned. After letting off all that steam, I went back inside. I never expected to blow up online. Someone clipped the whole thing and dubbed me Queen of Roasts, College Edition. Soon, people were lining up to hire me to curse others out. I didn't take it seriously until a few days later. I got a call. 10 million. Marry my son. Sounded like a prank until I stood in front of their 3-story villa. Seriously? They meant it? A richly dressed woman told me her youngest son had recently been in a car accident. He survived, but would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Since then, he'd been the target of both overt and subtle mockery. What she needed was someone like me to shut them all up. I had the brains and the bite, basically a battle bot. Or, as she said, the perfect daughter-in-law. It sounded absurd, yet strangely logical. I hesitated. Marriage is a big deal. 10 million. Could I maybe meet your son first? 10 million a month. Well then, Mum, I'm in. At 10 million a month, I'd marry a toad if I had to. But Tony wasn't a toad. He was actually better looking than most of the male influencers I followed online. Most importantly, even sitting there in his wheelchair, Tony exuded warmth and gentleness, and still got mocked by a few guests. I didn't get it. In a wealthy family like this, you'd think people would be civil. That was, until I saw Tony's older brother, Jack, standing center stage, glowing under everyone's praise. Then it all made sense. Rich families. So much drama. Tony's face had gone pale, clearly holding back. I, Jennifer, never feared fights or confrontations. What I couldn't stand was that pitiful, wronged expression. One look, and my heart melted. Right then and there, I decided he's under my protection. Tony was genuinely kind. Even after the accident, he never lashed out or blamed anyone. Me? I cursed out 3 scheming maids on my first day in the villa. They'd written Tony off as a cripple, with no shot at the inheritance, and had been sucking up to Jack while leaking Tony's private matters like a sieve. I fired every last one of them with a stone-cold face. Tony watched quietly, then handed me a glass of warm water. "You must be thirsty," he said. "See? Such a good guy." And still, they bullied him. Later that night, Tony was even more thoughtful. "I know you don't have feelings for me. I forced this marriage on you, and I'll never overstep. There are many rooms in this house. Feel free to pick whichever you like. If you prefer the master bedroom, I'll move out." I rejected him on principle. "You're not in good shape right now. I need to stay close to take care of you." Worried about putting pressure on his leg, I set up a small bed beside his. In the middle of the night, half asleep, I thought I heard someone whispering. "Don't leave it," a voice said. "He thinks death is the end. He dies. He still owes me." "What do you mean? Death is the end?" I jolted awake. Could all his warmth be an act? Was he depressed enough to consider ending it all? My eyes flew open, I turned, and Tony was gone. I rushed to the balcony and found him sitting there alone, staring into the night, looking utterly lost. Melancholy, pitiful, and alone when Tony heard the sound. He turned around. In the moonlight, he squinted slightly, a flash of coldness passing through his eyes. I glanced at the crutch on the ground, and the wheelchair left in the distance, heart aching. "You couldn't get back, could you?" I said. "If that happens, just call me. I sleep like a log, won't bother me one bit." I wheeled the chair over and carefully helped him back. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, haunted by his words. Might as well be dead. Unexpectedly, we spoke at the same time. "Did you hear that too? You've got to keep living, no matter what." Silence. After we spoke in unison, the room fell into a dead stillness. I figured Tony must be feeling down, and being caught like that only made it worse. After a moment, I climbed down from my little cot and crawled into his bed, gently taking his hand. "I know this is hard to accept right now. We'll find a good doctor eventually. The world's big, somewhere out there's a miracle worker. And besides, technology's improving every day. Just because they can't fix it now doesn't mean they never will. As long as you're alive, there's hope." I gave his hand a squeeze. Honestly, this rich boy, raised in comfort, had skin as soft as satin. I was having some unsavory thoughts until Tony gave a little awkward cough, snapping me out of it. I cleared my throat. As for those who can't shut their mouths, don't worry. I'll teach them a lesson. I think I've been conned big time. Before the wedding, it was promised 10 million a month just for me. But once I married in, that 10 million turned out to be for all our living expenses. Only 10 million a month total? I stared wide-eyed at the bill the butler handed over, then double-checked our bank balance in disbelief. Tony sat quietly beside me, looking a bit embarrassed. "I'm the burden," he murmured. I understood what he left unsaid. Power struggles in wealthy families are always ruthless. If Tony were healthy, maybe he'd stand a chance. But with his legs gone, he was instantly deemed useless next to his shrewd and capable brother. Now we were basically beggars asking the family for handouts. The Camel family was filthy rich. This was pocket change to them. But because Tony was now worthless, they figured they could just brush us off. I consoled him. "It's fine. 10 million's still plenty." After comforting my delicate little flower, Tony, I changed my face and urgently called the butler. "It's not even mid-month, how are we already? 5 million down." I flipped through the bill, eyes growing wider. "What is this ice? Over $300 a bag. What, made from celestial water?" I squinted at another line. "Wait, why does this beef cost an extra 10 grand in airfare?" After scanning the whole thing, my biggest takeaway was, capitalists don't rip off poor people, they rip off each other. Take the pearl earrings they got me last week. Turns out they were synthetic resin. That 5 grand bracelet? Plated copper. I stopped the butler. "From now on, don't bother buying me jewelry. With that money, I could get actual gold, something that holds value. Or at the very least, spend $100 and get real decent pearls. Save myself at least 3 grand. I couldn't care less about this so-called added value. At lunch, I watched Tony cut his steak with elegant precision. He noticed me staring and hesitated, then held out his fork. "Do you want a bite?" "Oh, no, you eat," I said quickly, waving him off with enthusiasm but still staring at him expectantly. Tony looked a little confused, but obediently popped the meat into his mouth. "Is it good?" I asked. He nodded. I grinned like a fox, coaxing him. "So, compared to yesterday's meat taste any different?" Tony froze mid-bite, glanced at the steak, then looked again, clearly puzzled. "See?" The air-shipped Australian beef was no different from the freshly butchered local beef we had back home. That's one expense I wasn't repeating. Ha, capitalists. Dream on if you think you'll scam another cent out of me. At the end of the month, it was Jack's birthday banquet. That afternoon, I called the butler and, gritting my teeth, ordered a $500,000 brooch and cufflinks set for Tony. Just as I was finishing, Tony walked in. I paused and wheeled him over. "Didn't you say all this stuff is overpriced nonsense?" he asked. "You even sold your own jewelry the other day, so why are you ordering something this expensive for me now?" I handed him the design I'd chosen. "I don't care about that stuff. But at your brother's birthday party, there'll be people you know, people who only respect the robe, not the person in it. Can't let them laugh at you. As for me, everyone knows I'm from the countryside. Not owning luxury items is perfectly normal. And if anyone has something to say, I can just curse them out." Tony chuckled, then closed the catalogue with a snap. "Then I don't want it either." "You can help me curse them out too." He tilted his head, eyes glinting with mischief. Jack's birthday party went exactly as expected. Everyone there wanted to step on Tony to get on Jack's good side. I knew this would be a tough fight. So I'd gone home to the village and learned some fresh insults from our foul-mouthed aunts and grannies. When Tony came in, I was testing lipstick shades on my hand. He studied them seriously and picked one. "Use this one." I swapped it out with another. Then, Tony gently applied the lipstick to my lips himself, his touch soft and careful. I examined myself in the mirror and beamed with satisfaction. "This red's perfect, screams queen energy. I'm wearing this to hold court today." Tony gave a tiny smile, dipped a finger to my lips, and dabbed the same color onto his own. "Is that so?" he said. "Then I'll wear it too to hold court by your side." Even when we got to the villa gate, my face was still burning. Tony really knew how to flirt. I was finally calming down. When Tony grabbed my hand in the car and slipped on a bracelet glittering with gems of every color, sparkling in the sunlight. No woman could resist something that shiny. I turned my wrist, admiring it from every angle. Where'd you get this? Weren't we committed to the broken minimalist lifestyle? Tony blinked and grinned. Bought it with my secret stash. I tapped his shoulder. Oh, really, Mr. Tony? Hiding money already and we just got married? We arrived a little late. By the time we entered, the hall was already buzzing with elegantly dressed guests, clinking glasses and laughing. But not a single person tried to talk to us. From targeted provocation to straight-up ignoring us, was this their new strategy after tasting my fury last time? But neither Tony nor I cared. We were focused on living well. These bootlickers weren't worth our time. I pushed Tony to the dessert table and picked out some snacks for him. Tony's injuries left him prone to weakness and low blood sugar, so I always kept a close eye on his eating. Our little bubble of affection clearly annoyed someone. Jack came over with a glass of wine, gave us both a once-over, and put on his big brother act. Why are you dressed so plainly? Did someone from your side skim off the budget to make you look bad? If money's tight, just tell me. He continued. I'm more worried someone close to you is scheming, taking advantage of your injury, hoping to cash in on the Camel family's wealth. Jack was clearly throwing shade at me. I rolled my eyes and was about to respond when the man beside him jumped in first. Exactly. You know what they say, thieves in the house are the hardest to guard against. Mr. Jack, the Camel family's empire is vast. You'd better manage it carefully. I chuckled, then turned to Tony and asked, Is this your grandson? Tony looked confused and glanced up at me. The man scowled. You bumpkin from the countryside. I'm not even a camel. Exactly, you're not a camel. So why are you meddling in Camel family business? I said. Reaching into our family's matters. I thought you were Tony's secret love child or something. Jack frowned and scolded me. Everyone here is a guest of the Camel family. Don't embarrass us. Tony's eyes darkened slightly, his face growing cold. Right? How could the Camel family let a woman like her in the door? Someone scoffed. She stained the family name. Second son's got a broken leg, and now clearly bad taste too. I leaned down to Tony again. Got a lot of stash money? He nodded. Great. I stood up and punched that man right in the eye. With a loud thud, the man howled in pain, clutching his face. Jack jumped in shock and opened his mouth to yell, You! But I raised my other hand and landed a punch on him too. The banquet instantly descended into chaos. I grabbed Tony's wheelchair and sprinted away like I was in a race. We hid out in the villa's little garden. I collapsed onto the ground, out of breath, and looked up to see Tony smiling. Mr. Tony, you won't blame me for causing trouble, right? He shook his head with a laugh. So, how do you feel now? He mimicked my tone and replied, Awesome. Great Mr. Elegant Tony had officially gone rogue under my influence. Oh, right. Almost forgot. I pulled 2 pastries from my pocket, sadly. One was squished. Tony generously split his in half and handed it to me. He sat in his wheelchair. I sat on the ground. We hid in the garden, sharing a single snack. Don't you think we kinda look like a bankrupt couple from a rich family right now? Turns out, some things you really shouldn't joke about. Just half a month after Tony and I joked about being bankrupt, the Camel family suddenly faced an unprecedented crisis. A family as established as the Camels shouldn't have collapsed so fast, but somehow their assets tanked and the cash flow completely dried up. I may not know much about business, but something about this felt off until Tony told me that the Camel family might not be able to support him anymore. A thought struck me. Could Jack have orchestrated this whole collapse just to get rid of his brother? I don't want to drag you down. If you want, we can file for divorce any time. Tony said it with a calm face, but sitting there alone, he looked more fragile and pitiful than anyone I'd ever seen. What are you saying? Don't overthink it. I pulled him into a hug, fully immersed in heartbreak over how his own family had abandoned him, completely missing the shadow that flickered in his eyes. I brought Tony back to my little house in the countryside. Small, yes, but fully equipped. He wheeled around the courtyard, eyes full of wonder. "Nice, huh?" I said. "Designed all by me." I gave him the grand tour while explaining. After falling out with my family, I moved out and slowly built this place up myself. Tony asked what caused the fallout. Typical gender favoritism. At home, I was just a beast of burden for my brother. Couldn't even go to school. So I ran off. They wouldn't let me? Then I fought my way out. You think I was born with this swearing talent? Hell no, it was forged in real battles. People like that bullies, cowards hiding behind loud words. Why else would they teach girls to be obedient and meek? They're terrified we'll all grow claws. Can't tame a tigress. Back on my turf, I finally felt at peace again, and ended up chatting more than usual with Tony. That night, sitting on my little bed, I turned on a dim nightlight. The soft glow gave the room a dreamy atmosphere. Tony lay half reclined on the bed, eyes shimmering, watching me. I jumped onto the bed, excited. "Come on, let's do something important." I grabbed a pouch from the bedside. "Check it out, our fortune!" Tony's tender expression cracked. 10 million a month might be nothing to the rich, but for people like us, we could never make that in a lifetime. I've been cutting costs for months just in case this day came. His expression shifted slightly. "Your brother clearly sees you as a threat, it's obvious. As for your mother, sure, she loves you. But at the end of the day, she still depends on your brother. If it really came down to it, she'd sacrifice you too. Otherwise, when people mocked you, she should have stood up for you. Instead, she brought me in as a shield." The Camel fortune had shrunk by more than half. Jack was clinging to whatever was left. As for Mrs. Camel, she vanished without a trace the moment things went south. Don't worry, we have enough to live a good life from here on out. And just like that, Tony and I settled in. Now I had money, time, and a gorgeous gentleman in front of me. I was on cloud 9. Fate had always been generous with me. Just as I was basking in happiness, a new handsome guy moved in next door. Turns out, he was the neighbor's son, home from college on break. This young college guy was polite and energetic. Every time he stopped by to borrow something, I was in a great mood. "Ow!" I was chatting with him when Tony suddenly cried out from inside. I rushed back in a panic. "What's wrong?" Tony looked pale but tried to reassure me. "It's nothing. My leg just hurts a little." "Do we have guests?" "Invite him in," he said. "We just dried some new tea leaves, perfect for company." But I wasn't thinking about anyone else. Since moving in, Tony had never once complained of leg pain. The house was great, but we lacked proper medical care. What if his leg had worsened from not getting checkups? I pressed and massaged his leg again and again. "I'm fine, really. Don't worry," he said. But over the next few days, the pain came and went. I stuck to him like glue, hardly leaving his side. Still worried, I made sure he was settled in and went out to buy medicine. When I came back, Tony was sitting in the yard, chatting with a neighbor over the wall. The moment the college boy saw me, his face changed, and he bolted like he'd seen a ghost. Tony sat alone, head bowed, lost in thought. When I approached, he looked up and said softly, "Jennifer, if you ever meet someone who can truly care for you, let me go. I won't blame you. No matter what happens, I just want you to be happy." Huh? I was confused. Where is this coming from? Had the college kid said something to Tony? No matter how I asked, Tony refused to say another word. That night, the house was quiet, too quiet. I couldn't find him in the bedroom, so in a panic, I pushed open the bathroom door. Tony looked up faintly from the edge of the tub, then dropped his gaze again. Following his line of sight through the steamy haze, I saw his smooth, pale, shockingly gorgeous skin. He never exercises. How is his body still this good? So unfair. That thought spun in my head as I stared at Tony, completely entranced. Tony smiled slightly. Jennifer, want a touch? Well, how could I say no? I leaned in quickly and placed my hand on him. Tony lay comfortably in the tub, arms open, letting me explore at will. Just as I was getting totally absorbed, unguarded, he suddenly pulled me into the bathtub. I struggled reflexively, but he wrapped his arms around my waist. Babe, don't move. You care so much about my leg you wouldn't want to hurt it, right? You know what they say, care too much for a man, and you're doomed. If I hadn't cared so much about Tony, I wouldn't be lying on the bed like dried fish right now. And the culprit? Still lounging beside me, playing with my hand. Wifey, you're awake. His eyes sparkled. Didn't you promise me yesterday that no matter what happens, you'll never leave me? Still mad at him, I tried to pull my hand back and rasped. I never said that. The light in Tony's eyes instantly dimmed, like someone flicked off a switch. Sorry, I'm a burden to you. I said it, okay? I said it, all right? I just couldn't take that pitiful look of his. Every time, I softened. They say the wise don't fall in love. I must be a fool because I keep falling for it. But lately, Tony had been acting weird, really weird. He used to be gentle, always with a hint of distance, like he was behind a veil. But ever since we moved here, he doubled down on the weak act and constantly sought my reassurances, like I was some kind of heartless villain with a history of ditching guys. Then one night, I whined about not feeling well, and he went easy on me, so I slept better than usual. In that half-asleep daze, I thought I heard someone get out of bed, but no sound of the wheelchair rolling. No wheelchair? Then how could Tony be moving? That was my first thought. Forcing my eyes open, I caught a glimpse of his back disappearing through the doorway. Wait! Was he standing? I bolted upright. I wasn't dumb enough to think this was some miracle recovery. The only explanation was that this poor little guy act was a complete lie. Furious, I got up and followed. The night was cool as water. Tony stood there, cold and imposing, completely ignoring the people kneeling and begging at his feet. He even raised his foot and stomped down on the fingers of the man leading the group. I almost laughed. So this tiny house of mine actually got to witness such a dramatic scene. As I was debating whether jumping out now to scold people would ruin his aura, he suddenly sensed something, looked up, and our eyes locked unexpectedly. His expression softened, about to slip back into that pitiful persona again. Addicted to the act, huh? Turns out the truth was just as dramatic and absurd as those rich family novels. Only difference? The cold, ruthless schemer wasn't fiction, he was right beside me. Tony had been secretly battling his brother Jack for years. Jack thought one accident had won him the game. But little did he know it was only the beginning of Tony's master plan. The collapse of the Camel family's finances? That was Tony's purge. He used it to sever ties with the family and then launched his brutal counterattack. As for his crippled legs, they'd been fine all along. So what you're saying is you're totally healthy and still filthy rich? Tony sat primly on the couch, nodded cautiously, then quickly added, I really was injured in the accident. It still aches when it rains. He dropped his gaze, looking pitiful again. You promised you said you wouldn't leave me no matter what happened. I snorted and looked up at him. Meeting Tony's nervous eyes, I swiftly got up and started packing. Oh my God, so you're saying I'm about to start living the good life? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm moving into your giant villa. Come on. When your poor, pitiful, disabled husband turns out to be a healthy, loaded tycoon, only an idiot would walk away. Are you still giving me 10 million a month? I asked uncertainly on the way back. Tony's eyes and tone were complicated. I'll double it. I squealed with joy and threw my arms around him. Unlike Tony's long internal struggle, I embraced the identity shift with open arms. I moved into the lavish home he had prepared, practically glowing. Tony's comeback caused an uproar. People came daily to apologize and beg for forgiveness. Some of them had even been cursed out by me. During those visits, Tony would always glance my way, but I never looked back. I didn't have time. I was busy admiring our stunning spiral staircase for the 180th time. Just yesterday, Tony transferred the deed of this entire mansion to me. This gorgeous house mine. Absolute bliss. With Tony's skyrocketing net worth, the number of love rivals around me also soared. Not that I cared much at 2 million a month. He could open a whole harem and I'd still be chill. But Tony didn't give me that chance. Every time some woman tried to cozy up to him at a social event, he'd smoothly duck back and say, "Sorry, my wife's not one to mess with." That was my cue to make a grand entrance and unleash verbal hell on anyone clinging to Tony. People already knew my combat record from his crippled days. Now, my fierce wife rap was legendary. Whatever. For this kind of money, I'll keep playing the part. But today felt different. When Tony texted me to come over, he was already a little drunk. The woman beside him was decked out in luxury brands, clearly a rich girl. More importantly, she sat there, with her head high, chest out, full of entitlement. For a second, I couldn't tell which one of us was the real wife. Someone helpfully whispered to me, "That's Tony's ex-fiancé." Ex-fiancé, ex-boyfriend, it's all past tense. Why show up now for attention? Oh? Ex? Hello, I greeted politely. You must be Jennifer, she said. Let me give you some advice. You're from the countryside. You're not worthy of Tony. Know your place. Ah, that classic line. I guess I really am living out a rich family soap opera. I leaned on Tony and said, but he gives me 2 million a month. Since your family's so rich, wanna outbid him? Jennifer inhaled sharply. From what I hear, you're a college grad too. Instead of working, you're just leeching off him. Don't you feel ashamed? Ashamed? I echoed dramatically. I'm a pink-collar worker. Ever heard the saying? Pink collars earn 300-500 a month. If you had the choice, which would you pick? Tony didn't look too happy. After we got home, I could tell he was sober again, but he still wasn't saying much. He sat on the couch, deep in thought, then suddenly said, Wifey, maybe you should yell at me. Wait, what? I feel like you don't really like me. You only love my money. Excuse me? That is so unfair. I cuddle your abs every night and never want to let go. How is that not love? That's not what I meant, Tony stammered. I mean, you don't seem that invested. Look, I hid such a big secret from you, and you didn't even yell. It means you're not emotionally invested in me. What kind of logic is that? I cautiously asked. So, what do you want me to do? Be angry, hurt, ignore me, make me beg for forgiveness with cold eyes. Then what? Eventually forgive me. We make up happily ever after. Exactly. I clapped my thigh. We're already at the last step. Happy ending. Tony looked like he wanted to say more, but I grabbed his face. Tony, I know what's bothering you. First of all, you didn't do anything wrong. And second, everything I've done boldly, love or hate, I own it. I don't do drama. I don't do self-torture. I always choose what's best for me, and I never hurt others in the process. Say I'm calculating if you want. I don't care. Because I'm absolutely certain I'm climbing upward with someone I love. I won't let the past ruin the present. Right now, this happiness, that's what matters most.